Having an internship on your resume as a student aspiring to become a software engineer is essential. Not only does it increase your chances of getting a full-time offer after you graduate, but it sets the tone or kind of the quality bar for all the offers that you'll get from that point on. Amazon was a great name to put on my resume back in 2017, and today it continues to be one of the best names to put on anyone's resume, and it can really open the doors to a huge variety of opportunities for people who are trying to become software engineers. In the fall semester of my junior year at university, my school was holding a career fair, and out of the 100 or so companies that were there, Amazon was one of them. And personally, back then, never in a million years would I have thought that I would be good enough to work at a place like Amazon. But I thought it was a good chance to kind of network and at least take a shot and see how it goes. And if nothing else, then at least I can network and just practice speaking with other people. I waited in line and eventually it was my turn, and I just gave them my resume and my email. So quick side note, probably like many other students, I didn't truly have a genuine curiosity or interest in the opportunity itself, but I really just wanted something to put on my resume. So when the representative finished elaborating to me about all the different details of Amazon internships and opportunities, I had no clue how to keep the conversation flowing naturally. Honestly, I just started blabbering back a response and it didn't even make grammatical sense, but I was just trying to make myself look genuinely interested. And at some point I realized that I wasn't making any sense and I dug a deep enough hole for myself. So I literally just stopped talking and walked away. But I succeeded in getting my resume and my email in the pile, so that's what mattered most. About a month after the career fair, I finally received an email from Amazon with a link to the software development engineering internship opportunity. I filled out the application and filled in different questions about what was I majoring in, what year was I going to graduate, and it also had me select a couple different options for where would I want the internship to be located and which team would I prefer to be on. For the location, I chose Seattle as my primary choice because that was where the headquarters of Amazon was. And for the team, I chose the Kindle slash Echo slash Alexa team or something like that. So I sent in the application, and fast forward to another month later, I received another response saying, okay, here's the online assessment, or the OA for short. So actually at this point, I had already accepted another internship offer for a company in a completely different sector. But I thought to myself, taking this online assessment for Amazon would be just kind of a good experience. Maybe for next time, if I want to apply to Amazon again, I would have a better chance since I know what the online assessment was like. And even if I somehow did get the internship offer, I wouldn't accept it just because I already accepted another internship for summer 2017. So I decided to just kind of go ahead and try out the OA without really having any intention of moving forward. One of the first things I noticed when I opened the online assessment was that there was kind of like an online proctoring software where it would just enable your microphone, your camera, and even kind of record your screen just to deter you from doing anything shady or anything that would kind of give you an unfair advantage. So after enabling that, the first section of the OA consisted of 7 different debugging questions that I need to complete within 21 minutes. So there were about 3 minutes on average for each question. In this section, I was allowed to choose whichever programming language I wanted to do the debugging in. So they would give me the questions or the code in the language that I chose, which was C++. And I chose C++ because I was most familiar with that language from my classes. I remember I finished the 7 questions pretty quickly and pretty easily. I didn't think they were too tough, but something that definitely helped me kind of speed up the process of debugging was just having really good attention to detail. Now, the second section of the OA for me was kind of like an online IQ test. If you ever searched up an IQ test online, you'd see questions like, here's a sequence of 3 shapes. What should the 4th shape be? So those kinds of questions were pretty much what the Amazon OA in that section consisted of. And I think there were maybe 20 to 25 questions that I had 45 minutes to complete. I don't remember exactly how I did, although I don't think they really gave a score out at the end of this section of the OA, but I do think that I did pretty well. So the third and what I thought was the most important section of the OA was 2 programming questions in kind of Leetcode style that I needed to complete within 70 minutes. So Leetcode, if you don't know what that is, it's basically a website that contains 2,000 or 3,000 different algorithm and data structures programming questions. And this site is where a lot of software engineers or aspiring software engineers go to just prep for their interviews at big tech companies like Amazon and Google and Meta. For the two questions I had on my Amazon OA, I would say they were probably around medium level difficulty, maybe slightly on the easier side of the medium level difficulty category. One more important thing to note was that there was like a 40 to 45-second cooldown period that I had to wait after I compiled and ran my code. So this kind of prevented me from just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. So I read through the first question and started coding up my solution, but after about 20 or so minutes, I remembered that I couldn't even get it to run. So since I didn't need to actually finish the first question before moving on to the second question, I decided, okay, let me start from a clean slate and let me just go to the second question, start that, see how that goes. I started working on that and eventually got to around 10 or 11 test cases passing out of, I think, 17 test cases. After that, I felt pretty good. I felt a bit more confident. I went back to the first question, and that was around the 45, 50-minute mark. So I had about 20 or 25 minutes left in this section. I finally got that code to compile. And eventually I got 11 out of 13 test cases passed. Did a little bit more debugging, covered some more edge cases, and finally I got 13 out of 13 test cases passed for that first question. So the first question was done. I went back to the second question and did some more debugging and just cleaning up my code. And finally I got those remaining 6 or 7 test cases passed. And I got 17 out of 17 test cases passed, which is 100% pass rate for the second question as well. And by the time I finished, I had about 6 minutes remaining out of the 70 minutes that they gave me. And so at this point, I kind of figured, I got all the test cases passing, 100% passed. That's probably what they care about the most. I didn't really care to further improve my code, clean it up and make sure that it's flawless, quote unquote. So I just officially submitted the OA and I was done with that. So I remember feeling pretty good about being able to pass all the test cases in that final section of the OA. And I felt pretty safe enough to say that I feel like I'm going to go to the next round. And to my surprise, I got an email a couple of days later saying, congratulations, your offer letter for your Amazon software development engineering internship is inside. And the first thing I thought was, I didn't even go through an interview round. And I was very grateful for that. But I thought, okay, maybe the reason is I passed all the test cases in that final section of the OA. And maybe that's the reason that they decided to let me skip the interview, but that's just my guess. So I opened the offer letter, and of course, the first thing that I looked for was how much would I be getting compensated during this internship? And that number came out to be $7,725 per month, which was an absolutely mind-blowing number for me, especially considering that this internship would last for 3 months. So I'd be getting 3 months worth of that pay. Aside from the pay, the internship was going to be located in Seattle, and the team I would be in would be the Kindle org. So after getting this offer, I decided, this may be too good of an opportunity to pass up, including not only the pay and not only the location, but just the fact that I get to work in the big tech environment, which is an environment that so many aspiring software engineers hope to get the chance to work in one day. So after a long day of debating with myself, I decided I'm going to renege on the internship that I already accepted and go with the Amazon internship instead. By the way, reneging on an offer that I had already accepted certainly wasn't ideal. But at the end of the day, I just realized, this is just business and I have to do what's best for my future. So looking back on the steps that led up to me getting the internship offer, there were probably two major contributors to me receiving that offer in the end. The first of that being the fact that I was a programming tutor and I was just kind of helping and teaching students, helping them with their programming assignments, including their projects at school. As people say, when one teaches, two people learn. So this was a great way for me to refine my programming skills and become more adept and familiar with all of my programming knowledge. The second major contributor, which is definitely affected by the previous one, me being a tutor, was the fact that I knew C++ pretty well. I was pretty proficient with the C++ programming language, and just the fact that I could finish the OA problems, those two questions, without ever looking up the C++ library documentation or looking up any Stack Overflow posts. That allowed me to just focus on coming up with the correct logic for the questions instead of spending time worrying about things like syntax errors or syntax issues. So if there were a moral to this story, I'd have to say that it's to never stop believing in yourself. Like I mentioned before, back then I never would have thought that I'd be good enough to get into a company on the level of Amazon as a software engineer. But if I had never realized that I had nothing to lose by just taking a shot, then I wouldn't be where I am today. So if you're hoping to get into that one dream company of yours, whether that's Amazon or Google or whatever company it is, just take the shot, because you're probably a lot more capable and you have way more potential than you give yourself credit for. If you enjoy learning about how I got my Amazon offer as a software development engineer, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more. Comment down below what you were thinking, any questions that you might have that I could answer, and I'll do my best to respond. Aside from that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.